This is Yosef calling from Israel.
Yosef from Israel. Are you on speaker or are Bluetooth?
Not anymore.
Okay, great. We can hear you more clearly now. What's on your mind?
Fantastic. Yeah. Last time I called in was about a year ago. I'm an anti-occupation Israeli, but I still kind of believe in the two-state solution. So I was hoping maybe you can try to convince me otherwise.
Sure. First of all, Yosef, amazing. Thank you for being an anti-occupation Israeli. I know that there's a lot of forces within Israel that aren't on that side, and it must be a very difficult time for you. So thank you for calling in. I believe in a one-state, multiracial democracy within the Middle East. I believe that the 1967 borders is the second best option, but given the level of settlement activity in the West Bank and the Trump administration allowing for Israel to annex the Golan Heights, which the Biden administration didn't reverse, I don't know how that's possible. I think when we're talking about the Nakba, and I'm sure as an anti-occupation Israeli, you understand what that meant for people. It's not just for only Israelis to have the land that is in proper Israel all along the sea, in terms of trade prospects, in terms of people's homelands. I believe that it's the best case scenario, like it was in South Africa, for the wall to drop and for there to be racial integration within Greater Israel, which is basically how I would refer to the West Bank and Gaza, because they're under Israeli control. They just don't have rights.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would like to definitely see some kind of, some people call it the federation movement, and most people in the anti-occupation bloc are a one-state equality solution. I mean, I would like any scenario to have equality amongst people, but like at the same time, it's not for me as an Israeli to say that Palestinians necessarily have to live with us in one state. I mean, along with that, I've read, Herzl's vision for a land which is, 120 years old. Part of his writing was that there shouldn't be any kind of, everything should be done with the native population, not against it. Because it was, point of his movement was to end anti-Semitism, and you're not going to end anti-Semitism by antagonizing populations. So
right. In terms of
in
terms of ending hatred, that's also what I think is the most effective solution. Like, you see this in anthropological studies or like sociological studies about when people live side by side, but also. The thing is that there's already 2 million Palestinians that live on, Palestinian Israelis, right?
Sure. That
live within Israel. And as you know, they are second-class citizens. Expanding the citizenship
not in a legal way, second class, but in a practical kind of how society treats them kind of way.
Right. I mean, for example, you as a Jewish Israeli, I don't know if you're in Israel now, but with those rocket attacks from Iran, you have a place to go, right? You have a shelter?
No, I'm actually in the Haifa area. A lot of my neighborhood doesn't have shelters.
Oh, wow. You're in Haifa. That's a very, are you in Haifa right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a crazy few weeks here. It's my first time living in this kind of condition here.
Yeah.
But I mean, it definitely informs perspective on both, why Israelis are traumatized in a way, and obviously extrapolate what people in Gaza and Lebanon, without all of the defenses, have to live with.
For people that don't realize, Haifa is in the very north of Israel, so you are quite close to the fighting between Hezbollah.
20 miles from the Lebanon border. So we've been getting regular rockets attacks here for the past 2 weeks. They've been only getting more intense. Part of the reason I'm anti-war and occupation is because I'd like to be secure living here.
Right.
And, our actions are, we could probably have a ceasefire deal. I know Hezbollah is looking for one now, but I don't think that's going to happen with our government.
Yeah, I mean, so what's your assessment of how Israelis are feeling? I mean, I know you're in Haifa, so it's perhaps a little different, but about Netanyahu in particular, because I know his poll numbers have gone up.
They're definitely scared. Look, as opposed to the judicial reforms, the anti-war protests now do have, as a Israelite, there is a lot, there's clear people are definitely enjoining the war and the occupation, which you didn't see during the judicial reforms. So, I mean, I was very happy to see that in terms of, like, at least people are openly walking around saying we need to end the occupation, we need a ceasefire, and, but, I mean, we can protest all we want, the government, is not going to do anything, and there's not going to be elections until 2026, most likely.
And that's the thing about the democracy stuff. Like, frankly, I mean, even with the Israeli people, I think people are a little bit fooled by some of the visuals from Tel Aviv in terms of protests, right? Like the more liberal Israelis are in the cities as opposed to the folks in settlements and the more extremists who also are a part of the population, but maybe not, they're not going to be in the hostage protests that you see. But could you just give people a sense of, like, when you talk to other Israelis, do Palestinians really come up that much? What's your sense of how people feel about the current war aims of the government? It's hard to assess from the outside.
A lot of people think that the ultra-Orthodox people I've spoken to think that this is a political war. I mean, it's pretty clear for, I think, most of the citizens. In regards to the Palestinian issue, it seems like a very emotional response, at least up here the past few weeks, because people are under threat. And, when I talk to people, it's like, well, how do you think it feels to be on the other side? It's very basic peacemaking work, but that is definitely an issue, but it's, very emotionally charged. It's hard to tell people, when they're dealing with alarms and taking their kids to bomb shelters, to think about somebody else. I mean, that's part of what, we do as political junkies and people who are trying to change things. But I definitely see how the situation, has evolved to what it is, being in these circumstances. Yeah,
downward spiral. It's reinforcing itself. It's horrible.
Lastly,
I mean, it almost seems like, that from our government, this is almost intentional. Like, you want to put 60% of the country in bomb shelters and on alert, because that's going to radicalize them and make people more right wing, I think, by nature.
100%. What is the appetite for long-term war within Israel?
I mean, especially here in Haifa now, the past 2 weeks, it's been, like almost like COVID-like, where things are quiet in the streets, things are shut down. I don't think anyone thinks this is sustainable, but a lot of people are just kind of going on with their lives, trying to figure things out, because they don't think there's really a helplessness feel. But
right.
I mean, that's only what I could pick up from.
And no one's saying the word genocide in Israel as it relates to Palestinians, pretty much, right?
The crew that, the anti-occupation crew kind of does, but, most mainstream Israelis won't go that far. And even if they do, we have to do it.
Right.
But,
right.
Well,
I appreciate you calling in and listening, even though I'm sure some of our anger about the situation or rhetoric is a little hard to hear. I appreciate your activism as an anti-occupation Israeli. Absolutely. And thanks so much for calling in today.
Thank you. Yeah, just trying to keep an open mind.
That's all we ask. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I could imagine a future where just regular people could go in like over a weekend from Beirut to Tel Aviv to Gaza, and it'd be fine and not a militarized border situation.
Like in Europe.
Yeah.
Like, you're in the south of France and you want to go to see a German city for the day. Just bring your passport and get on a train. Like, these are the kinds of things where when you don't have militarized borders in this way, it solves a lot.
Yeah,
it solves a lot.
Like that's why fundamentally, like, you know, if there's an intervening two-state stage, I would only frankly buy it if the Israelis, like Bibi and et cetera, were extremely against it. Would I buy the sincerity of a two-state? But they could only be an intervening stage toward a one democracy, or maybe even a regional democracy for everybody in the Arab Peninsula.
Doesn't just need to be these carved up countries created by imperial
of years ago by imperialists. Exactly. Yeah. Where we have things like one person, one vote, and that sort of thing, and not militarized borders. That'd be, I think, a better future for everybody.
Golden Oyster Cult. Somebody please clip Emma saying we need proof of said cucking for the soundboard. Maybe that's more RM Brown's bag.
Yeah, that's going.
Industrial military. Hey, just wanted to say I really like this variation of MR with Matt's increased input and you, Emma, as co-host. I appreciate both of your thoughts and representation of slightly different parts of the left. That's very nice. Thank you. Fantastic Moron. Pro tip, if you are donating supplies for disaster relief in decimated areas, spend your money on bulk items over random items. Instead of a few cans, a couple bottles of water, and some crackers, buy cases of one item. Relief workers have to sort through each item, and that takes precious time away from other tasks. With bulk, it's easy to organize and creates recovery speed and aids deliveries. Thank you. Left is best. That's a great tip. I appreciate that. Fantastic Moron.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.